I remember so clearly, it seems like just the other day, we were two kids falling in love, but now we're full grown, baby. I wouldn't trade it for
Hey, what's going on, family? Good morning, good afternoon, good night, whenever you're viewing this podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us on AP and Toya podcast. Of course, I am AP.
And I'm Toya. And welcome
to what we call this one? Convos?
At home convos.
At home convos,
At home
yeah.
convos. Rhonda, is that right as an English teacher? I feel like that's just not good English.
Don't talk to Rhonda yet. She just started, all right? Don't talk to her yet. We didn't introduce her yet.
I don't think his English is correct. But
well, anyway, we started this new series where we wanted to interview some people that we think that are amazing people, that are people we love to follow on Instagram, people that are just good human beings in general, you know. And so we have a special person coming on the podcast today. She's like a little sister. We're so proud of her. So much stuff she's accomplished. And I'm going to let my wife introduce our guest.
So, for all our listeners, this is Dr. Rhonda Antoine.
Hey!
Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
How are you? Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. Welcome to the show, Rhonda. We've known Rhonda for years now. I want to say over 14 years.
Oh,
because I didn't even have Jordan yet, and Jordan's turning 14. And Rhonda's like a little sister to everybody, right? In the group. She's the sister of our really good friend, Crystal. Yeah. Shout out to Crystal Adams.
Hey, sis.
Yeah, Rhonda, we're just so proud of you. We're proud of your journey. We're proud of how far you've come. You're just a young Black woman killing the game, homeowner, doctor now, got her doctorate. What else?
Girl.
She's not...
Yoga instructor. No, I'm joking. Nah, she's just doing her thing, and we're just so proud of you, Rhonda, man. It's like, everything that you put your mind to, you've accomplished. So we wanted to get you on the podcast because we know that you are... wait, before we do that, introduce yourself, Rhonda. We've been talking all this time. Introduce yourself.
Okay, well, my name is Dr. Rhonda Antoine, and I'm an educator. I'm based in New York City. And I am an English teacher, currently an English teacher, middle school and high school. I've taught for the past 10 years. And over the summer, I'm a summer school administrator, really. I'm an assistant principal. That's about it. Graduated with my doctorate degree from St. John's, and I have my bachelor's from Temple University.
And Rhonda did all of this debt-free, right, Rhonda?
Yes.
What? Yes.
Oh, wow, that's what's up.
Debt-free. I know Rhonda is just, I'm telling you, Rhonda is just killing it as a Black woman out here.
Go ahead, boo, sorry.
But no, I was just gonna say, like, we're so proud of you. Thank you. We wanted to have you on the show because I know a lot of parents, including us, we're just struggling right now. We're so used to dropping our kids off at the bus, picking them back up, doing a few homework assignments and all this stuff. And now we've become we're homeschooling. Yep. Now we're homeschooling. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I kind of sort of like it on some days.
No.
Most.
Not at all.
So we just wanted to have you on the show, Rhonda. Well, first thing, let's ask you, how have you been doing during this pandemic?
So personally, I've been doing fine. However, I do have a lot of friends and family members who have lost some close ones to them, some dear ones to them. I've also had a lot of church members who unfortunately have passed and some who are still in the hospital recovering. So, but overall, I've been fine. I haven't been sick, thank the Lord. I'm doing well. Overall, I'm doing well.
Good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, Rhonda, help us out. Help the parents out. Give us some ideas, any tips or anything to keep us sane during this homeschooling period.
Okay, so I would definitely say to just think positive. You know, this is the one time that you have to spend with your child. Typically, students are in a classroom with 30 other students, and they don't really have an opportunity to have one-on-one instruction with an adult. So this is the time that you can really focus in on your child's strengths and weaknesses, and to really give them that one-on-one attention that they may need. So that's one way to just think positive during this time. Also thinking about, now we're in the age of technology. And there's a lot of resources that are out there. There's Khan Academy. There's a lot of things on YouTube where students can use that as a resource and as support so that they can get through these times, these challenging times.
That was actually my next question, because there's some parents that aren't tech savvy.
Oh
my gosh, technologically.
Oh Lord.
Technologically.
You're in front of a doctor here.
I know.
Could you act like you graduated from somewhere? Thank you. For parents, don't shout out West Orange High School right now. But so for parents that are not tech savvy,
yes.
Give us some advice, because girl, I was like, Google Classroom, how do I teach my 8th grader to submit an email? Like not my 8th grader, my 8-year-old too.
Yeah.
How to do an email? Like, help us out.
I know. The good thing is that the parents may not be as technologically savvy. But
See, got you too.
But the students are. The students are very familiar with different computer systems. And for the parents, I would definitely advise them to go onto YouTube. There's a lot of how-to videos, how to use Google Classroom, how to do certain things on Google Classroom that will be helpful to the parents. And I would definitely still use the school as a resource, as a support. The teacher is there to help the parents and to guide them through so that they can support their children. So any questions that you have, I would also say to reach out to the teacher.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
As you were talking, I was just thinking, we have a lot of friends that have 5 or more kids. Somebody didn't have cable. Somebody been getting it. So we've had friends with 5 or more kids. What advice would you give for, especially for ones that have not only more kids, but that have younger kids and adapting to using technology?
I would say that just keep in mind that each child is unique. Each child has different strengths and weaknesses. So what may work for one child may not work for another. So just really knowing your child. I would definitely say at the beginning of this, the beginning of this quarantine season, your child may need a lot of support. But as time goes on, you can definitely let go a little bit more, depending on the abilities of your child. But just keep it in mind that every child is different, every child is unique, and just respecting their individuality, especially in terms of their learning style.
Nice. That's awesome.
So I have a question. So our kids are on different schedules, right? So when they're used to getting up, going to school and things like that, now I think we're trying to get a good schedule going with them doing the homework and keeping themselves busy and all this other stuff. But we don't do a good job sometimes of following up on stuff. So what advice we give to parents who are trying to get their kids on a schedule for schoolwork? How can we better utilize our time, making sure the kids are on a school schedule?
Mm-hmm. I would say that kids definitely are more effective when they have a routine. So making sure there's a routine in place. And I will also say, for example, I'm not a morning person, but I can stay up all night and work. So let's say I'm a child, I would say maybe the morning is not the best time to have them working. Maybe noon, they can start their work, noon until 6. But just making sure that you're consistent and you have a consistent routine in place for them.
Gotcha.
And just mix it up with
That's
fun.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm happy you say that, Rhonda, because a lot of my friends, I was feeling bad, even coworkers, like a lot of them were waking their kids up, like they wanted to maintain the same routine. Like usually my kids get up 6:15, and I'm like, now we actually don't have to wake up at 6 and 6:15. Like I'm not waking my kid up at 6:15. Like we're gonna be home all day, so like let your body wake up naturally, whatever time you wake up. I mean, I don't want them sleeping in the bed 10, 11, to noon time. But let your body wake up naturally.
Yes.
You get something to eat, get some breakfast, make up your bed, do a little chores, then start your your thing. So thank you for helping me to not feel like a bad parent. Because I'm like, I'm not waking up. I don't want to wake up at 6:15. Why would I be waking up my kid at 6:15? Like, so...
All right, so the kids are starting to get adjusted and things like that, and this is a new world for everybody, right? So this is something that we definitely did not plan for. The world didn't plan for it. We're dealing with the hand that we're dealt right now, right? So, how do you think this is affecting the children emotionally? Like, you get to see the kids on a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
How do you think they're handling? Especially, you teach classes during the week on Zoom or no?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah. So, how are your kids coping with this pandemic that's happening?
I would say that my kids are coping. I mean, they're all on different, they've all been affected by it differently. But I like to do check-ins at the beginning of class. I do play a video for them, social emotional video, which I can send so you guys can post as well. And it's basically videos for students in this season, to just remind them that they are resilient, because I strongly believe that children are resilient and they will be okay. Yes, they may be affected by it, but as adults, we need to be in tune with our students, and we need to be proactive as well. And we need to know which students need counseling. And if you think that your child needs counseling, just keeping in mind that there are a lot of counseling centers available, especially at this time. But again, also using your school as a resource. The therapists are still available in the school psychologists, the school counselors, and they're the ones who really specialize in that social emotional piece, the emotional piece. Yes.
Awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Rhonda, what do you think? I'm always wondering now with everything going on, like, what do you think the future of schools, are going to look like? Like, is this online learning here to
Mm-hmm.
stay?
So I think that we were not ready, we were not prepared for this at all. So I think that kids are going to come back a lot more independent. And schools need to make our kids more independent. I think before, maybe students didn't know how to necessarily send an appropriate email to teachers, but now they know how to send that email out, because that's how we're communicating now. So just making sure that next time, if it ever happens again, we pray that it won't, but if it does happen again, we'll be more prepared, and students will be able to independently work, and they'll be a lot more technologically savvy with the computer.
Yes,
That
that's
would trip
awesome.
you up.
That word,
See, y'all thought I was slow. Now,
that
doctor
word,
said it. Now everybody like, oh, it's
that word
okay.
would trip you up.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm gonna
go
ask this
ahead, go
question.
ahead.
Look. So, we're going through this pandemic, right? We've been saying this all over and over. Now, we hear a lot of teachers saying, "Oh my God, I miss my students so much. I really do. I miss my students." Oh
No,
my
you
gosh.
see it on Instagram
Yeah,
too.
isn't it?
They're
Instagram,
showing
Facebook.
up. They're sitting in driveways 6 feet apart, like
Yeah.
big notepads and stuff, trying to teach kids how to do stuff.
Are they doing that too?
Yeah, I saw pictures of teachers like rolling up in people's driveways and stuff, like sitting on the driveway. Students at the top of the driveway, teachers at the end of the driveway, and they're like trying to show them how to do math and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Ooh, I wish some teachers roll up in my driveway, girl, because that new math, what?
Oh my God. So the question is, are teachers really missing their students?
Okay, so I have no children at home. I have no children. So personally, I do miss my students. Um, it's pros and cons. It's pros and cons. It's great to
That
teach in the comfort of your home.
pause. That pause though.
And I'm meeting with my students regularly. So
Right.
I'm still able to like connect with them and things like that. But my school, we did a caravan. It was like over 50 cars. And we were driving throughout the neighborhood, just showing the students love, waving from a distance. It was just like a really warm moment, not only for the students, but also for the teachers. So I do think that we miss our students dearly. However, what I can say is that as teachers, even though I don't personally deal with this, but as teachers, I think a lot of them deal with parent guilt. And that's because they spend maybe 10 hours with other people's children, and they don't get to spend that time daily with their own. So this is a really good time for teachers to be able to connect with their own children, which is something that we don't really get to do. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Wow, that's
Love it.
awesome.
So that's good. We got some good teachers out there. Good teachers.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. We appreciate you guys now more
Yeah,
than
man.
ever,
For
man.
real.
Oh my
Thank
gosh.
Yeah, boo.
So Rhonda, what kind of student were you when you were in school?
So when
You can tell the truth, Rhonda.
So I would say that I was a good student, almost a teacher's pet, but I hung out with all the cool kids. So everybody knew, if you're trying to get in the clique, be friends with Rhonda. She'll bring you in. She'll bring you in. So I was a good mix. I was a good mix. Um,
Now, if we tag you on Facebook, will people disagree with this and they be like, Rhonda was a nerd the whole
no,
time?
no. I was just speaking to my friend from high school today, a couple hours ago, and she was saying the same thing. Like, Rhonda, you were still the same. Like, nice, always nice to people. But I hung out with the Rough Riders.
Okay.
What is that?
Okay. Okay,
Rhonda. Next question. I don't even know what the Rough Riders are. Like,
figuring out the DMX and Eve and everything. Okay. All right.
She was with DMX. She said she was in New York.
Hey, DMX is out there preaching God's word, okay? Did you hear DMX preach? He sounds like he's like yelling at you.
Hey.
Sorry.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
She said she was with the Rough Riders.
A DMX voice. But anyway, we're getting
The
all
cool kids,
of this.
cool kids,
Oh,
Cool
no.
man.
You
the
done
Rough
said
Riders.
it. You done
Ooh,
said it.
I'm about to send it to your mama.
Yep.
Any additional resources? I know you mentioned YouTube is a good resource for parents wanting like additional activities for their kids.
So like Khan Academy, there's so many out there, but what I would say is to the parents, you are the resource. This is the time to really teach your kids things that you wouldn't typically have the time to teach them, and things that schools necessarily aren't teaching them. How to do laundry, how to cook, to going over Bible stories with them, just life skills that they're going to need, how to balance a checkbook. Well, we don't use checkbooks anymore, but how to, just live on a budget, how to create a budget, credit scores. This is really the time to teach them things that they need to be successful in life. So I would say that you are the resource. And this is really the time where you get to spend time with your child and really know what their strengths and weaknesses are, because you are their number one advocate. So when schools reopen, you know your child. So you're going to be able to communicate with the child's teacher about your child and, what they need extra help with. And just to have a voice, which is, I think this time is invaluable for parents to really connect with their children, so that when schools are open, that they can be an active support in the school.
That's awesome. I love that though, because this is definitely a time where we get to see exactly what happens, what kind of students our kids are, because sometimes parents teachers write home reports and say, "Oh, your child did this." We're like, "My child did what?"
I'd be the first one to be like, "Oh no, not my Layla, not my Jordan."
Yeah, now I'm like, that's why your teacher send them letters.
My child would never.
Yeah,
my kid would never. Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, so
I'm speaking to parents now, and they're like, "I never knew like my child did not know how to write," and I'm just like, "Well, this is your time to really sit down and teach them."
That's awesome.
They're just like, I can't believe they made it to high school and they can't form a sentence. And I'm just like,
wow.
Well, this is the time. You have all the time in the world now to really, really focus on your child.
Awesome. So do you have any encouraging words? I'm sorry, I'm taking all the questions.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So
I was going to say my kids don't know how to spell. But
you a liar. Don't come here and lie on this podcast.
I'll tell you, my kids be like, "Mommy, how you spell this? How you spell this?" I'm like, Jesus, be a dictionary now.
They know how to spell. They're just lazy. It's called being lazy.
When I was growing up around this, if I asked my parents how to spell something, I had to go get the dictionary and actually look the word up. Now I'll be like,
it's so easy for them now. You just have to type it into Google.
Right. I'd be like, "Kid, you ask Siri how to spell that?" Because some words I don't be know how to spell this.
That is the mother got to go to school.
But yes. Anyway, that is all off topic. What were you gonna ask?
I was gonna ask, do you have any encouraging words for your fellow teachers during this time?
So we're going to get through this together. We can either look at this with either the glass half full, the glass half empty. And we have to choose every day to look at it with the glass half full. So it's just being very intentional about our thoughts and our mindset. And we'll get through this. We've gotten through a lot of things in the past, so we'll definitely get through this one.
Awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. So Rhonda, any proud teacher moments? I know I have a million nurse moments that I can share. Any proud teacher moments that, make you feel so proud that this is the right thing you chose?
So like you said, there's a lot within my past 10 years, but I'm thinking about one in particular, my very first year teaching, when I was teaching in Philly. So one of my students came up to me and she was like, so what is it like to be baptized? And, this is a public school. You're not supposed to have these kind of conversations when it comes to religion with your students. But, I was talking to her about it and, you have to be saved and the entire process. And I'm like, what made you ask me? And she's like, I don't know, something about you just told me that you went to church, I was like, yeah, I do. Because she was going to get baptized that following Sunday, and she was really nervous about it. But that really spoke volumes to me because one thing that I always say is that I love teaching. The purpose that the reason why I go to school every day is to educate. But I do want my students to see God in me. I want them to see Christ in me. I want them to see love in me, because I really do believe that what I do is ministry, and it's just ministry outside of the church. So that was definitely a moment that spoke volumes to me. It's touched me dearly.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
It's the
Awesome.
God in me. I can't sing, but it reminded me of that Mary Mary song. You sing it.
Come
It's
on,
the God
Aaron.
in
Come
me.
on. You got this.
He stopped singing to me, Rhonda. It doesn't happen anymore.
Quarantine.
Any other quarantine?
Yeah.
Quarantina. So one question, yes, before I forget, my kids. This is the question from my kids. Can you weigh in on this debate going on in our house? Should kids have homework? My kids think they should not have homework. They said it affects family time. We can't have dinners together. They're all
good argument.
they're all convinced that homework is from the devil. So can you weigh in on this debate in our house? Should kids have homework or not?
All right. So as we all know, when we compare to other countries, America, unfortunately, cannot compare. We're far behind. And that's in comparison to other countries that don't give homework. However, I am an English teacher and I give homework to my students because I do think that homework is very important. I think repetition is very important. So you learn a skill in class with 30 other students, but it's really important that you're able to go home and to practice that skill because repetition is how you really learn. So I think it's important. I think especially depending on the subject, it's very important. But what I can say to teachers, we have to be very mindful about the quantity of work that we give and the quality of work that we give. Students shouldn't be doing homework for hours every night. And we also shouldn't be given busy work. So just making sure that the homework is aligned to the objective for that lesson so that students will master that objective and they can be able to practice at home.
Nice. All right, kids.
I'll
Dr. Rhonda said y'all got to do homework.
Yes, homework is a go, definitely.
Oh my gosh. So Rhonda, I know you were going to be graduating, getting your doctorate. I know a lot of graduations have been canceled. You know, we have a lot of friends with also graduating from college and high school. So if you had to do like a little mini convocation speech, what would you say to the graduating class of 2020?
Just how proud I am of them. I do realize that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to find, and when you're finally at the finish line, you feel like, oh, that's it. Like I never want to be inside of the classroom again. But just remembering that we're lifelong learners. We may not necessarily be in a physical classroom, but just always have that desire to always want to learn, always want to read. But I'm just so godly proud of them because I know how much work it is. And just to keep reaching for the stars, you can never learn too much, and just always being prepared for any door that can possibly be open. The door may not be open right now, but just in case it opens, you're prepared for it. So that would be my speech, on the spot speech.
So I'm gonna piggyback off of that. So now you're walking across the stage and you just got your diploma, your doctorate in your hand, and they gave you the microphone to thank some people that you wanted to thank. Who would be the people that you would thank the most for on that day?
Okay, so I would thank God. Definitely thank God. Because there are times when I was down and out and no one knew, and God was the only person who was there to really strengthen me and to encourage me. So Jesus Christ, Let's start there. I will thank my parents. My parents came to America with nothing, so that my siblings and I can just have a better education. And I've seen my dad waking up at all hours of the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, coming home late at night. He was a construction worker. My mom also went to school while working and raising my siblings and I. So I see the hard work that they invested into our lives. So I would definitely thank them. I'm able to say that I'm loan free because they definitely helped me with my bachelor's degree, so that was a blessing that a lot of people cannot say. My friends, my church family, my village, I love them. And I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for them holding me up in prayer, holding me up with the encouraging words. So that would definitely be my thank yous.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
so
good.
I know Mama Antoine recently got her master's degree, right?
Shout out to Mama. Shout out to Mama Antoine.
How old, if you don't mind me asking, how old was it that she recently got
Oh,
her?
I don't know. She really put her business out there.
I'm just saying to
37?
motivate people, right? In her 50s.
Yes, my mom is in her 50s and she just got her bachelor's. Okay. So
right.
definitely, it's never too late. It's never too late. If it's what you want, go for it.
Amen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
All right, fun questions, Rhonda. Favorite book and why?
Purpose Driven Life. I read that book 2 years ago, 2018. I was down and out. It was just like a really rough year for me. So it was life changing for me. After reading that book, I got heavily involved in ministry. It was just life changing. My perspective on life changed. I'm actually just reading it again for the second time because it's that good. So I would recommend that book to everyone. Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren.
Yep.
Nice.
We've read it a couple times as well.
Yeah, we
Great
did.
book. Great book.
We had a Bible study on it too.
Yeah.
Share your favorite scripture with us, Rhonda, and why.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. That scripture has gotten me through times when I felt like, why is this happening, Lord? Like, what is going on? Like, this cannot be you. But now that I look back on my journey of life, it makes sense. And I wish that in those seasons, I just trusted him more. And I lacked faith then, but now I'm able to look back and like, oh, this is why that happened. Like, God, you was holding me down all this time. And I didn't even know. So even when it doesn't make sense, just trust that God, he's making a way and he's opening doors for you.
Nice.
Love it, sis. Love it.
Awesome. That's our memory verse this week that we're learning with our kids.
With the kids,
yeah, that's awesome. What else? Favorite quotes? Any favorite quotes or affirmations that you?
Okay, so I asked my students to memorize this every September, and it sucks that I don't know it. I feel like I should know this by now. But excuses are the tools of the weak and the incompetent. They're used to build monuments and bridges. They're used to build monuments to nothingness and bridges to nowhere. Those who use them seldom excel in anything but excuses.
Nice.
Bars.
It's long, but it's powerful.
Okay, Rhonda. I like that. I like it. All right. So quick questions. What's one thing that you live by?
The Bible.
Okay.
The Bible.
Something that you would tell your younger self.
I'll definitely tell my younger self, to just trust the process, have faith. There were so many times when I was crying myself to sleep. Even now, like, there's times I'm just crying. I'm just like, why am I crying? Like, I'm extremely emotional and sensitive at times. But just have faith. It's all going to work out. So that's what I would tell my younger self.
Awesome.
Last question.
Last question. What would you tell your future self?
Have faith. Trust the journey.
I love it.
Same thing. Like, that's one thing I have to live by, because it's just so many unsure moments of like, what's going to happen next. I think I try to control everything, every variable in my life. It's just like, God is in control, like, no matter how much you may want something to happen, if it's not God's will, it's not going to happen. So just chill out. chill out, you know? So
yeah,
love it.
I totally believe that, especially in this season that we're going in. Like right now, I'm usually like checklist, and this has to be done by this month and this year and by this age, and do this and do that. And now it's just like I'm dealing with just total surrender. Like there's nothing I can do. God is in control. Like I didn't need a pandemic to remind me, but a pandemic is here to remind me that God is in control. And like, you know, we just have to live by his plan, live by his will.
That's right. So Dr. Rhonda Antoine, we thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. We are so godly proud of you.
Yes.
We remember you just being this young girl coming along, running behind your sister and stuff like that. And
and you're gonna tell the story.
And I'm gonna tell a story right now. She's a doctor now, but you know, back in the day, I was worried about Rhonda because she got a new car and she went to go fill it up with diesel gas instead of putting regular or.
There's a story behind
Lord have
that.
mercy.
Don't be putting my business out there, Aaron.
You a doctor now, but you know, I started praying that day, so I think.
For the record, the car still works. My friend is driving it. It still works. Yes.
See, it didn't ruin.
I think the day I started praying was the day your life changed around, because that was the day I said something. She ain't rap too tight, so I'm gonna pray for this girl right now.
Rhonda gave us rides in her RAV4. Okay, that RAV4 took us lots of places. I'm not complaining. Whatever diesel, whatever kind of gasoline you put in there, it got us places. All right.
Anyway.
Aaron, you had jokes for years and it's still continuing. I don't understand. When will this one die out?
It will never. It will never. It just it'll never die. But again, Rhonda, we thank you so much. I know it's 10 years ago, but you know, you gotta let people know. You gotta humble yourselves. Everybody got stories to humble themselves. You know what I mean?
Look, Rhonda, when you become a millionaire after all these investment properties and all the stuff that you have, I'm just prophesying stuff. Yes, you have your first investment property when you have lots more. You're a millionaire. Come put some diesel in my car.
No, I'm gonna be the one on social media trolling her like she ain't even that smart. She put diesel in her car. No, I'll be trolling on Instagram. But Rhonda, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you. We love you, sis. Proud of you. Anything else?
No, that's it. We thank you. Thank you for everything you're doing in the classroom. We know you have your doctorate. You could be like superintendent and running the whole thing. But you're in the classroom with our children, and we appreciate you. We appreciate everything that you're doing.
Yep, thank you so much. So, family, that is our show for today. We thank you so much, Rhonda, for joining us. You know how to get AP and Toya podcast. We are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. We are on iHeartRadio. Everywhere you can get a podcast, you will find AP and Toya. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube. And thank you so much for taking the time out just to check us out for this episode of our podcast. All right?
Yes.
Be blessed, guys. We love you, and we'll be before you again next week. Peace.
Bye.
I wouldn't trade it for anything, 'cause what we have is heaven sent. I never saw you coming my way, but I sure do appreciate it. I do.